Okay, hey, let's just get right to it. Why waste time? I just finished a run, 24 miles. It was fantastic. I called it my my salty lemonade long run. It was 24 miles. It was supposed to be my last long trail run before a race in 14 days. And both the races in Malibu Creek State Park, which is closed until further notice. Not sure that that will be open. And my regular training happens in Griffith Park, which is also closed. So the fires have ravaged everything. But Made Lemonade just decided to run on the streets instead. If you don't know, running 24 miles on the street on asphalt, but primarily concrete, when you're training for trail runs and geared up for nutrition and hydration for trail, it's quite a different. It's a shock to the system. But I'm grateful to be able to do it. Salty lemonade because it's just devastation. So many friends, collaborators, colleagues, clients suffering, evacuated, lost homes, et cetera, and we're going to be tracking these losses for months and years. We know that. But I had to get out there and run today because we're resilient. And I didn't want to get caught up in any news stories about Los Angeles or Hollywood because we're resilient. We are resilient. And we're comprised of conservatives and neoconservatives and Trump supporters. And we got a lot of woke liberals and regular liberals. And we got millennials who really are going to tell us how they feel about things later. Gen Z, who seems to be running the world. Gen Xers, let's not forget about them. You know, they pay most of our bills. Come on, the hustlers are still the Gen Xers. God bless them. And I'm a boomer, and here we are. So I wanted to get out there and run. So I thanks to Henry Howard, Coach Henry Howard, he said, Mark, are you really doing, if you're going to do run long after 60, and that's what this is. Is it a podcast? Is it a YouTube channel? Am I just ranting? We don't know just yet. But ultimately, it's about run long, period, after 60. That's what I'm going to do. Or at a minimum, I'm going to run long after 60. And at 61, that's my metrics. That's my A goal and B goal. So Coach Howard today, with great wisdom, said, well, Mark, if you really want to run long after 60, you got to make sure you don't run and get bored. So running a 4 or 5 mile loop many times around the neighborhood to get your 24 miles in today, that doesn't sound like fun. Try 8 miles. And he was right. So I ran 3 8-mile loops and just had so much fun. And I ran around a box that is essentially my protective area. Everything within this box and about a mile outside that box, I consider my footprint. It's my LA. It's my Hollywood. And it is comprised of so many different people, and we need all of us. And the great thing is, no matter how much criticism might come from the outside about LA or Hollywood, I know we're resilient, and I know we are all of us, and I know we are Hollywood. But the other reason I ran today is because I celebrated an anniversary. Yes, celebration is the right word. It was a number of years ago when I had my second major stroke on January 11th, many years ago. Now, check this out. I'll tell you in another video or whatever sometime. I was preparing to run my first marathon because I had my first major stroke 6 months before that. So I was training for the LA Marathon and did my last long run, and the next day, just my body and mind and God apparently had other designs for me in that second stroke. So I still celebrate it, though I often forget it. And a good friend of mine this morning reminded me about it. And I'm like, oh, I got to go. What am I doing? So how cool that I ran my last long run today for this run that happens in 2 weeks. It's 24 miles and in my favorite trails, but I had to run it on concrete instead. And so I'm sure this over 60 set of bones tomorrow, it's going to be aching. Not because of the mileage. It's, like Indy said, right? It's not the years, it's the miles. Well, sometimes it's not the miles, it's the surface. And that's true today. So it's not the miles, sometimes it's the minutes. I run slow AF. And I think my pace today was about 15 minutes. Now in the trails, that's great. If I manage to run a 15-minute miles in the trails, I'm smoking it. It's great. But when you run on the streets, obviously, that's terribly slow. But your body's used to doing what it's doing, right? So I maintain my fueling and, I loaded up my pack, and it was great. And I had a pit stop. I haven't had a crew ever before. And because I ran around a loop that was my house, I was able to stop. And after the first loop, I didn't stop. But after the second loop, I arranged to have my crew member make a fantastic PB&J and some salty chips and meet me outside. And it was fantastic. I'd never had someone crew before. It was just so sweet. So I appreciate that very much. So it made the last 8 miles. And when I run in the trails, I don't run with music or anything. I just love nothing when I'm out in the trails. But when I'm on the streets, I listen to audiobooks or something. But for the last 8 miles this time, I didn't listen to anything just because I didn't need it. It started to get dark, right? I started in the broad daylight, but slow AF. You run slow. It's you're out there 6 hours. I know that's insane, but that's what happened when you run long after 60. You're going to end up running in the dark a lot. Okay. That's really it. So I'm really grateful to have finished it all, and not sure about this video, even what it is or who's ever going to see it. So whoever does see it, clearly you have my contact information, and not just here in the channel. I don't want to call it a channel just yet, because I don't even know what it is. But you know me, and you've seen me. So hit me up and give me suggestions. I think it's the podcast, clearly, because there's so many people who are in their 40s and 50s who are top of their game in the ultra running game, and they're coaches and athletes, and they're going to be in the business long after 60. We know that. I'm 61, and one of my current objectives is I want to run 100K and a 100 miler when I'm 62 years old. So I'm working on it. Anyway, give me some thoughts. I did a series of videos just like this in 2016, leading up to my very first marathon, the New York City Marathon. But at that time, I was afraid. Number one, to admit to the world that I had a couple of strokes. That's scary to a lot of people. And then I got cocky because that's who I am. And I decided I could have this great GoFundMe competition, and that I was going to raise a bunch of money. And if I stroked out, I would donate all the money to Trump's campaign. But if I didn't stroke out, all the money would have to go to my selection of charities. But that joke didn't land well then. Probably is not landing well now. Good thing I never did it. Both my doctors and my family members are like, man, it's too soon, dude. You don't even know what strokes are doing to you just yet. Why don't you run the first marathon? So I did. November 2016, I ran the New York City Marathon. It was fantastic. One of the greatest experiences. If you have never had a chance to do it, try to. If you run slow like me, you have to raise money for organizations, and even then it's not a guarantee. But anyway, it's such a good thing to do. Okay, that's it for now. I'm going to post this. I think there's going to be auto captions. I don't know. I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to do any of that other bullshit for now. But maybe in just the old ranter, maybe I'm the old broadcaster finally after 60, broadcasting himself, right? In 2008, YouTube comes along, and man, I helped a lot of people, dozens and dozens of clients over the years to do just that. But maybe it's time, right? Turn on the microphone, Mark. Don't be afraid. Hit the send button. Post this damn thing. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Thanks for the advice. You all listen really well. Now I can see why it's so addictive. Wait, are you talking to me? No. All right, that's it. And remember, this is what you got to do if you want to run long after 60.